You can create AI patterns using Kittl, and I'm going to walk you through each one of our pattern style sets with a couple of prompts to see exactly how you can get the best results and some tips for using it. And then we'll talk about a couple of the use cases for the patterns in Kittl. So let's dive in. All right, so we're going to go down to pattern styles, hit show all, and let's just start with the first one. We're going to go top to bottom here. So for the cute pattern style, I'm already going to think about things that have that cute style. So happy sleeping dumplings. We're going to go simple for these prompts. Okay, so the cute category is already going to do a lot for you. So there I have my simple sleeping dumplings there. Now let's change this prompt up a little bit. Let's go happy jumping, and then let's go for kittens here. And notice I'm just keeping them pretty small. The prompt's pretty small. Now you can give it some more detail if you want to, but generally speaking, less is more in the patterns, specifically the ones that are like for glowing or for the cute styles. Now if we go over here into the prompt book, which is extremely important, and I've linked this below, we can see here, for example, cute pumpkins and ghosts. Again, keeping things very, very simple. Okay, generates kawaii-inspired style, simple, cute elements. Okay, so those are the kinds of prompts that you're going to want to be using for the cute category. Now, let's move right along. Let's go with the wallpaper category. And if we make sure it's selected right here, when we hit show all, now if we go back over to the prompt book, let's see what it says. Right here, it says elephants and colorful flowers. So that's an example of a prompt. Again, still pretty simple. So let's go up here. Let's go for a similar prompt. So let's go bright, flat flowers and leaves. So we're going to go pretty simple for this one, bright, flat flowers and leaves, and let's see what that gives us. That's pretty awesome as a wallpaper. And so you can be using things like this for backdrops, maybe for your social post, or for a card or something like stationery you're going to do for print on demand or something like that. Or you could mask these inside an element. You could use some of the mask elements, like we have new text masks, and you could mask this inside of a text, or you could mask it inside of a shape or something like that. Let's do another one. Let's go for tigers with vibrant colors, and let's just see what that gives us. And that's really nice. So you can already be thinking about how you're going to use these patterns for your backdrops, or maybe certain print-on-demand items like mouse pads or something like that. Let's go for a couple more just to see how it reacts to certain prompts. So I've gone for green and blue waterfalls. Now, of course, it's giving me something a little bit more abstract, but I think that's actually pretty cool generally as a pattern or a backdrop. But let's give it a little bit more info. Let's go for something a little bit different. Let's get rid of that one. Let's go back up here. Let's just edit our prompt a little bit. I'm going to go for green and blue clouds and stars, and let's see what kind of image it gives us. Now that's really nice. That's pretty cool as a pattern that can be masked inside something, or as the backdrop of one of your designs, like a quote or maybe a book or a journal or something like that. So let's get rid of these and let's keep on moving down the line of our patterns. So let's go over into the artistic one. And then, of course, we can go back over to our prompt book and let's see what it says for artistic. Creates artistic patterns reminding of vintage wallpaper. So I'm already thinking of the word vintage in mind. So for the first one, let's use vintage style descriptive words. So I'm thinking things like scratchboard. So let's go for scratchboard style raven. Let's do a raven here. And then let's tell it a couple colors to use. Because you can definitely tell it what colors you would want it to use if you're not getting something specific. Maybe add a little bit more detail to the patterns. So we're going to go with blue and purple. So that looks really, really cool. It looks pretty old school. Not quite scratchboard, but it's still in that same kind of general range. Let's go for etched. Let's go for a different vintage word. So let's go for etched flamingos. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So let's hit generate and see what that does. And that's super cool. So that looks really, really nice if I just size this up a little bit. That's really cool. Super old school, kind of vintage etch sketched style. I like that a lot. Of course, I didn't tell it any colors. I just wanted to see what it would do. So now I'm going to do koi fish swimming. Again, I'm going to do no colors with this one because I already know, yeah, it's going to give me the general colors for a koi fish already. So those are just a couple of tips on using the artistic patterns because they're going to generally be using that kind of vintage style. Now let's move on to the painted category. And let's go back over to our prompt book. Let's see what it says for that. So for the painted category here, we have generates vibrant patterns with a painting texture. So I'm already going to be thinking about a vibrant prompt, something that has a vibrant feel to it. If I'm using this pattern style, then I know I want to give it things that I know are going to be vibrant. So I'm already, for some reason, thinking 60s. So let's go for mushrooms. So I'm going to tell it a specific era, 60s style mushrooms, and then let's throw flowers in there. Make sure painted is selected. Let's generate this image. And that is definitely vibrant. So, hey, real quick, if you're getting value out of this AI patterns tutorial, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button, and then let me know in the comments, what are you going to use the AI patterns for? Are you using them for book covers or maybe for print-on-demand mouse pads or some kind of product like that? I would love to know what you're generating AI art patterns for. So comment below and let's get back to the tutorial. Again, not saying you couldn't use that prompt in a different style, in a different pattern, but because this one is already like catering to vibrant, I'm using that prompt in this pattern style. So now let's go for bumblebees and flowers just to see what it gives us for that. Again, I didn't tell it any specific colors to change it or anything, so that's pretty cool. It's giving me a lot of different bumblebees and flowers in a different kind of painting style, still nice and vibrant. Of course, you could use the color adjustments over there on the right side, the photo adjustments to change the hue and saturation. Let's give it an oasis pond. Let's give it something tough with colorful flowers. So we've got a subject along with flowers around it. And that's really cool. I think it did a really good job describing a pond with some flowers around it. That's really, really neat. So again, with the painted one, we're thinking about things that are vibrant. And you can see here, just in these three, you can get three kind of different renders depending on the type of prompt that you input. Now, let's move right along. Let's go to Baroque. Now, I mentioned this already in the previous video, so definitely go check out those previous videos. These are going to be reminiscent of old master oil painters. So don't be afraid to throw a name in there. Let's go for vivid flowers. We're going to go inspired by Van Gogh. So I'm going to put in a famous painter. Whether or not it needs to be, oil versus pastel versus whatever, I'm just throwing a famous painter's name in there, and I want it to be inspired based off this, and I gave it some color, and that's really nice. I think it did a really good job of that's definitely reminiscent of kind of old master paintings for sure. So I think that did a great job. Now let's go water canals inspired by Michelangelo. And I think there's enough intensity in this name that I don't even need to give it any colors or anything, because I just want it to be that really kind of dark mystic style that Michelangelo was known for. So let's go generate images and see what this does. And that's really, really cool. That may be, that wouldn't be far-fetched away from seeing some of his work. But again, throwing in a famous artist's name works, but you can also just throw in general things that are vintage. So I'm using the vintage keyword there. I've already shown this one in a couple other videos, but using acanthus leaves and things like that, things that are already kind of vintage, or using words like scroll work really work well for the Baroque style. Let's move right along to the flat style. And of course, this one is pretty simple, creates simplistic patterns of flat elements. So already knowing that, what I'm going to do is give it a generally flat prompt. So I just want cat silhouettes. Those are pretty flat already. And so I know the flat style is going to do it well. So now I've got differing cat silhouettes all together. Now let's give it a little bit different. Let's go ahead and give it some fruit. So let's go for apples and oranges for this one, and see what it gives me for that. So again, for this one, I'm still keeping it pretty simple. You could get a little bit more detailed if you wanted to, but sometimes simple is better. So now let's go for a little bit more intricate. Let's go top hat and gloves. This one is giving me top hats and gloves in no specific order. So depending on the subject of your prompt, you're of course going to get a different render. So let's move along to the next one. So let's go down, and for the textures one, I already showed in a previous video as well, but this one is quite obvious. It's going to give you a texture, which is amazing because you can come up for textures for days. So I'm going to go for cotton linen, but I want to specify the color. So let's go for tan cotton because I really want those kind of fibers in there. Yeah, that looks really, really cool. So I'm going to put this one over here. Let's go for another one. Let's go for a brown paper bag and then hit generate to see what this gives us for that. And I think that looks really, really cool. That's not unfamiliar from textures we already have in Kittl. But of course, you can change the blending mode here to come up with some really, really cool effects, as you see here, that you could use on top of your designs. So the textures one is quite obvious. Of course, you're going to have a ton of fun with that. Let's move on to our Indigo one. So let's get rid of this prompt here and scroll down. Now let's go to Indigo, and then let's go back and check our prompt book to see what Indigo says. So create patterns in the style of Delft blue painting reminding of porcelain decoration. So I'm kind of thinking like you know, the fine china that you might have. So I'm going for teacup set. Let's get rid of these right here. Let's click generate. Of course, you could give it more. I'm just showing you what these are giving you for simple, because a lot of times with the prompts, simple sometimes gives you the best result because you don't need to explain a ton of the style. So let's go for great blue whales and let's see what it gives us for this one. That's really nice. I could see that definitely being used as like a book cover background or a journal cover or something like that. And then you can also go super simple. So paw prints, of course, in the Indigo style, it's just giving me blue paw prints. So just so you can see the range, you can go from super simple to more intricate with just one style, depending on, you know, how much you want to explain. And then moving on to our last style, we have the glowing style here. And let's, of course, go back to our prompt book. Let's see what it gives us for that. So creates glowing 80s inspired retro patterns. So I'm already thinking of things that are 80s. For some reason, milkshakes seem like such a big thing in the 80s. I don't know if that's just a movie thing, but let's go for vibrant milkshakes and just see what it is. Again, less might be more here, and that's pretty cool. I could see that being the background of an ad or something for some kind of 80s inspired product or something. Let's give it a little bit more detail. Let's go for Memphis style, and then let's go for things like squiggles and shapes and things like that. Now we have a category like this in Kittl that is super amazing, but I want to see what it gives me. So 80s style Memphis squiggles and shapes. Yeah, that's really cool. I could see that being masked inside of a certain shape or used as the backdrop for like a title slide or something like that. Maybe you need like a web banner or web slide or something. I think that's really fun and playful. Now let's go for shoes and skateboards. This is also very, I think this is very 80s, but let's make sure we put in colorful there just to give it that extra oomph here. And let's see, yeah, that's super cool. Of course, it's given us those vibrant, the pattern is called glow, so it's giving us those vibrant tones. Now, by the way, if you delete everything, they're all in your uploads, which is really, really nice. So in case you delete anything or you're wondering where it is, they're all here in your uploads, and we are currently even working on a way for you to sort folders in your uploads, so this is going to be even easier to manage in the future. So I hope that was helpful just to see how you can incorporate different things in the prompts for certain styles, as well as knowing what kind of prompt to give a certain style. But let's talk about a couple of the use cases. So how would you be using AI generated patterns from Kittl? Well, of course, you could use them in things like masks. You can use our masking elements to mask that certain pattern to a shape, or even to our new text shapes. So we have shapes that are letters that you could mask them to, and that could be one component of your design. Now, of course, you could also use the AI patterns for things like printables on Etsy. Maybe you're making bookmarks and you want to use patterns in the background of a nice quote for bookmarks. Of course, we've done a video in the past on that as well. Maybe you're using them for print-on-demand products like a mouse pad or notepads or sticky notes or something like that. Those niche items in print-on-demand, those kinds of patterns could be useful for that as well. Now, you could also use them for wall art and things like that. Now, of course, we are always looking at ways ways to increase scalability, give you the max resolution for things. So we'll be updating those things over the coming weeks, months. We'll even be adding new styles, new patterns, and as well as just presets for Kittl AI in general. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything as well. Now, if you want to see other tutorials using Kittl, I have these videos here on my right that I know you're going to enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos and features and things like that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.